Hotep, I am the Amen Osiris, the one and only undisputed God of law. We are Deception Stoppers, America's only 4D education service. I am the 4D Destroyer. We are not a law firm. I am not a lawyer. We don't advocate that you don't support your human offspring. We simply advocate that you made them in private, take care of them in private. And today I'm coming from the Section 8, the original Section 8 Federal Child Support Enforcement Manual, page 35, collecting child support. All right, just for you, so the record is clear, there is no such thing as child support. It is 4D collections because Title 4D was never intended to benefit individual children or custodial parents. They do not have a right to service and they are not entitled to service. Okay. Now, in collecting child support, the local courts and child support enforcement agencies attempt to collect child support when the non-custodial parent does not pay. Okay. And I quote, the most important collection method is wage withholding. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Child Support Basics Manual, and this is another manual that we teach from. All right, Child Support Enforcement Program Basics. Background. In general, child support is the cash payment that non-custodial parents are obligated to pay for the financial support of their children. Now, gentlemen, I told you, you do not have to reinvent the wheel. All you have to do is look at the words. Okay? More importantly, check this out. Down here, it says the Child Support Enforcement Program, Part D, Title 4 of the Social Security Act. Was that ever enacted into positive law? No, it was not. Okay? And you can prove that. All right? So let's look at some things here. Where is that? All right. Today we're going to talk about garnishment again. And the reason I'm going to talk about garnishment, I'm going to go a little bit in depth. Now, I've taught you this before, but I'm going to explicitly prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt, there has to be a contract. Without a contract, all right, there is no garnishment. And look, all you have to do is look at the words right here. The non-custodial parents are obligated to pay. All right, let's look at some words real fast. Obligation, law or duty binding a party to perform their agreement. Agreement, undertaking to perform. These are all contractual words. There must be a contract in place. If there is no contract, you do not owe a debt. Now, let's prove this. 31 USC 3720D, garnishment requires that the head of a 4D enforcement agency to produce a contract or any instrument that compels you to a specific performance. All right. The 4D agency is also required by the same law to validate the non-tax debt owed, all right, which is to be bound or to do or omit something to the United States. Hold on, let me take that out. All right, owed to the United States. What is owed? To be bound or to be bound to do or omit something, especially to pay a debt. What is a debt? A sum of money due by certain express agreement, as by bond. What is bond? Evidence of a debt for a determined sum. Okay, so if someone is bound or bind, so long as a contract, an adjudication or legal relation remains in force and virtue and continues to impose duties or obligations, it is said to be binding. A man is bound by his contract or promise, by a judgment or decree against him, by his bond, covenant, by an estoppel. All right, let me ask you a question. Did anybody here sign an express agreement? Did anybody here knowingly sign a contract? All right. Now, what is an instrument? An instrument, a document or writing that gives formal expression to the legal act or agreement for the purpose of creating and securing, modifying, or terminating a right. Where is the instrument? Okay. Now, we're going to go into 31 USC 3720D. Garnishment. A. Notwithstanding, and you notice I got this word provision in giant, and it's a little bit bigger. All right, I'm going to read this to you. We're going to break it down some more. All right. Notwithstanding any provision of state law, the head of an executive, judicial, or legislative agency that administers a program that gives rise to a delinquent non-tax debt owed to the United States by an individual may, in accordance with this section, garnish the disposable pay of the individual to collect the amount owed. If the individual is not currently making required repayment, in accordance with any agreement between the agency head and the individual. Okay. Who is this individual? It is the non-custodial pay rent, because it says here, all right, I just showed you background. In general, child support is cash payment that the non-custodial pay rent is obligated to pay. So if you're number one, if you're a non-custodial pay rent, that means you have to succeed. Number two, if you're obligated to pay, that means you're under a contract. All right. Now, provisions. Okay. So what this says is in 3720D, in order for them to garnish an individual's wages, that individual being the non-custodial pay rent, there has to be an agreement between the agency head and the individual. Individual is it's an artificial person, fellas. Okay. Now, provisions. These are the provisions of 31 USC 3720D. Foresight of the chance of an event happening, sufficient to indicate that any present undertaking upon which it is assumed realization might exert a natural and proper influence was entered upon in full contemplation of it being a future possibility. What is an event? Right here, the chance of event happening. The making of a contract is an event. Okay. Now, what is undertaking? An engagement by one of the parties to a contract to the other as distinguished from a mutual agreement. Okay. There's a difference. Major difference, and you're going to learn why. Okay. And I've taught you this before, but redundancy is key, fellas. In the case of the non-custodial pay rent, who becomes enrolled in the project on or after the date of the enactment of this clause, the non-custodial pay rent is in compliance with the terms of an oral or written personal responsibility contract. There it is, entered into among the non-custodial pay rent and the entity. Gentlemen, did you enter into a personal responsibility contract with the entity? Who's the entity? The entity has to be the head of the executive, judicial, or legislative agency, which means these folks right here, upon your request, they must produce a contract, okay? Which was developed taking into account the employment and child support status of the non-custodial pay rent. Remember, that's the one who's obligated after the non-custodial pay rent was enrolled in the project, and which at minimum includes the following. So here we have what is required by their law that they must have and produce upon your request. A commitment by the non-custodial pay rent to cooperate. You must cooperate. All right. You also must voluntarily acknowledge paternity. Okay. A commitment by the non-custodial pay rent, here it is again, to cooperate in the payment of child support. Okay. And look, the participation of such pay rent in the project. A commitment by the non-custodial pay rent, there it is again, participate in employment or related activities that will enable the non-custodial pay rent to make regular child support payments. A description of services to be provided under this paragraph, and a commitment by the non-custodial pay rent to participate in such services that are designed to assist the non-custodial pay rent obtain and retain employment and increase earnings. Why is that? Because the most important collection method is wage withholding. If a non-custodial pay rent is not working, they cannot withhold its wages. Very simple. That is why they have a seek work order. Okay, let us continue. All right, so number one, the biggest thing here is, first and foremost, you must succeed to the status of non-custodial pay rent. What is succeed? De-evolution of title, which is man, to property. Okay. Number two, the non-custodial parent must enroll in the 4D program. Okay. What does enroll mean? See, I got it up here somewhere. Enroll, to register, to make record, to enter in on the rolls of the court, to transcribe. So if there's a record of the enrollment, then under the Freedom of Information Act, they have to provide you with that record, don't they? When did you enroll in the program? All right. Let's keep it moving. Okay. A commitment to cooperate. All right. A commitment to participate, and a commitment, right, by the non-custodial parent to obtain and retain employment and increase earnings so they can garnish those wages. Now, because their provisions, all right, their foresight of an event happening requires that there is a contract. The law of contracts is simple. The elements, lawful contract required. 4D is based on Title 42 USC, which is a non-positive commercial law title applicable to contract only that must meet the following 6 elements of a lawful contract. These 6 elements make a contract lawful. All right. Original offer by person qualified to make the 4D contract. Well, up here, it says the person who's qualified to make that contract is the head of an executive, judicial, or legislative agency. Do you have a contract with Scott Leakin? Good question. Okay, we'll go back down here. Acceptance. And what is an offer? An offer is an act on the part of one person whereby he gives to another the legal power of creating the obligation called contract, presented for acceptance or rejection. Well, wait a minute. In general, the non-custodial parents are obligated to pay, are obligated to pay for the financial support of their children. So where's the contract? All right? An obligation called a contract. There must be a contract on the record. And look, right here. The head of the executive administrative program gives rise to the legal tax debt owed to the United States. These are provisions. Okay? These are provisions. There has to be a contract between you and a department head. Where's that contract? Okay? Let's go back down to the lawful. All right. Did you accept that contract? So you must accept the contract. Okay? Bargain or agreement and full disclosure and complete understanding by you and the 4D crime family. Now let's go back to the federal manual, child support. Okay? It says the most important collection method is wage withholding. Now, here's full disclosure right here. All right. Other techniques for enforcing payments include what? Regular billings, delinquency notices, liens on property, offset of unemployment compensation, seizure and sale of property, reporting arrearages to credit agencies, garnishment of wages, contractual, seizure of state and federal income tax refunds, revocation of various types of licensed drivers, business, occupational, recreational to persons who are delinquent in child support payments, attachment of lottery winnings and insurance settlements of debtor parents, authority to seize of debts parents held by public, of assets of debtor parents held by public or public retirement funds and financial institutions, and federal imprisonment, fines, or both. So let me ask you a question. All right. Acceptance, bargain acceptance. Would you accept the terms of the contract that I just showed you? Bargaining agreement, full disclosure. Did they disclose to you what I just read to you? Did they disclose to you that you can do federal imprisonment, fine, or both, and driver's license suspension and all that? No, they did not. Okay, let's keep it moving. Okay. And complete understanding by you and the Child Support Enforcement Agency, the 4D crime family. Consideration. All right, contemplation. If you knew the legal consequences under full disclosure, would you have considered going into that contract? The element of time that made the contract lawful. What is the element of time that makes the contract lawful? Both parties were sui juris. Okay? So without these 6 elements, which make a contract lawful, and more importantly, full disclosure and complete understanding, did anybody, let me zoom this out a little bit, right here, okay? Did anybody tell you to give you full disclosure of these things that you see right here? Anybody? Before you allegedly entered into a personal responsibility contract or an agreement with the department head? I don't think they did. I know for a fact that they didn't. Okay? And all right, so here you have it, gentlemen. So there must be, Title 4D is a non-positive law title. It is under Title 42 of the United States Codes. All right? The Social Security Act has never been enacted into positive law. Okay? That's why it has provisions. There must be a contract that compels you to a specific performance. And that contract, in order for it to be a legal contract, must contain the 6 elements that make a contract legal. More importantly, the biggest one is full disclosure and accepted. Because remember, a contract is presented for acceptance or rejection, but there must be full disclosure. Number one, I can guarantee you there's no contract, and I can personally guarantee you they cannot use the voluntary acknowledgement form because they did not inform you of the legal consequences that arise after you sign that instrument. Okay? So if I was in your shoes, what I would do is I would confront the head of an executive, judicial, or legislative agency, and because they're saying that they can garnish a non-custodial pay rent's wages in accordance with any agreement between the agency head and the individual. Why not just go to the agency head and say, well, yo, listen, I need a copy of this personal responsibility contract. I need a copy of the instrument that binds me. Okay. I need proof. All right. I need the express agreement. I need proof. You got to validate that I owe a debt. Okay. And the law requires this. You're saying you can, there's a non-tax debt owed. A debt is a sum of money due by certain express agreement. Where's the express agreement? All right. Show me where the event happened. When did I go into an undertaking with the entity? And what is the entity? Okay. When did I enroll in the project? And more importantly, when did I succeed to the status of non-custodial pay rent? The de-evolution of my title as man to property under the law of distribution. And let me show you something, folks. All right, all you got to do is look. Let's go back to child support basics. All right, and we're going to look at page 8, I believe it is, and we're going to look down to section 15, paternity establishment. We're going to go down here to section 15, and I'm going to zoom this in. Now, you'll notice it says the non-custodial pay rent is obligated to pay child support. Look, right here, section 466, A5D of the Social Security Act, no positive law, stipulates that an unmarried woman cannot put a what? A man's name on a child's birth record. All right, so here it is. You're going from a man to a non-custodial pay rent. All right. Man is the adult male of the human species above the age of puberty. Man, under Genesis 1 and 26, was created in the image and likeness of some black gods. Okay. And that came from the ancient manuscripts of Egypt under Hu-He. All right. And just so you know, I don't mean nobody no disrespect, but Christianity is a conglomeration of many different religions. But if it makes common sense, it makes common sense. But more importantly, all right, this is all bullshit, gentlemen. So in order for them, right, to garnish your wages, there must be a contract in place with the head of an executive, judicial, or legislative agency. Look, in accordance with any agreement between the agency head and individual. Okay? You're going above and beyond. All you got to do is just start demanding some things. Scott leaking, You can find out who the agency head is in the state or operating in the state, and simply ask them. All right, where's the undertaking? I want the enrollment form. All right, when did I enroll in the project? Okay, when did I sign an express agreement? Gentlemen, an express agreement is no different than a car note or a mortgage or your rent. Okay, so in order for them to garnish your wages, they have to prove these things. The burden of proof rests on he who asserts, not he who denies, gentlemen. All right. In order for them to satisfy the burden of proof, they have to provide you with the agreement between you and the agency head. Okay. Under that meet the requirements of the 6 elements of a lawful contract. And especially because the Title 4D of the Social Security Act was never enacted into positive law, that makes it commercial. All right. It's through contract only. No contract, no debt. No express agreement, no debt. No undertaking, no debt. No commitment to cooperate, no commitment to participate, no debt. You want all this. Well, show me the commitments. Or show me or provide the court records that show that I verbally made a commitment. But more importantly, they have to have full disclosure. I'm the Alman Osiris. If you need help getting rid of the 4D crime family, bang my email, 4D_destroyer@yahoo.com. Gentlemen, these are the facts. They cannot be disputed, and I do not understand or comprehend why nobody is just teaching me this. Not only can you destroy 4D garnishment, but without this contract, they have no 4D case. And if they cannot produce these instruments, all right, then they have to terminate this case or the case, whatever. Okay, that's it. That's all. It is simple. Okay. No full disclosure, no contract. Read contract law, gentlemen. Anything dealing with commercial energy as far as finances, there must be a contract. Okay? There has to be a contract. How did that car note get created? An express agreement. How did the mortgage get created? An express agreement. How did your rent get created? An express agreement. How did your insurance get created? An express agreement. Anything dealing with a debt, there must be an express agreement. An express agreement is a contract. Okay? If you are not under a contractual obligation, you're not obligated to pay, and they can have no case against you. Okay? That's their provisions. That is what it's not law, it's provisions. Okay? So look, number one, if you're not the non-custodial pay rent, then you're not obligated. If there's no contract, there's no express agreement, then you're not obligated. Someone is accusing you of owing a debt. A debt is a sum of money due by a certain express agreement. All right. So since they're making the accusation, the burden of proof rests on he who asserts, not he who denies. All right. Give them 10, 15 days to produce a contract. If they don't, then this is what you do. You do the same thing that they've done to you, to them. Right here. 42 USC. Okay. 42 USC 666A5H, default orders. Procedures requiring a default order to be entered in a paternity case upon a showing of service of process on the defendant and any other additional showings required by state law. All right, gentlemen, check this out. Take out paternity establishment. It doesn't matter. All right. But upon showing a service of process on the defendant, who's the defendants now? When you request information from these people, that makes you the petitioner and they are the defendants. Upon showing of service of process, guess what? You can get a default order out of it. They failed to produce the contract. They failed to produce the commitment. All right? When did you commit? All right? When did you commit to cooperate and participate and retain employment so they can take your shit? When did you succeed to the non-custodial payment? When did you enroll in the program? When did you become in compliance with the terms of an oral written personal responsibility contract? And let's look at the word terms. In civil law, a space and time granted to a debtor for discharging his obligation. There must be a contract, gentlemen. There's got to be a contract. Without a contract, then you have no obligation. You have no duty of support. And you have your freedom. All you gotta do is prove it. Real simple. All right. Any idiot judge knows this. Okay. Stop being the fly and become the spider. All right. And what you want to do is start composing and say, hey, come into my spider web, said the spider to the fly. Once you invite them into your spider web and they cannot prove, number one, that you're a non custodial pay rent, which is easy. And number two, if they can't prove that you're obligated under some type of instrument called a contract or a commitment, or a personal responsibility contract under the terms of that personal responsibility contract by full disclosure, that case must be dismissed. All right, real simple, gentlemen. All right, no six elements that make a contract lethal or lawful. No commitment, no full disclosure, no participation, no enrollment. Then I don't comprehend why you're not free yet, and I don't comprehend why other people aren't teaching this. I'm the Amin Osiris.